Hello, how's it going? I have a theory, and I'm still on hiatus, but I wanted to post this anyway. You know that thing where a measurable amount of vaccine hesitancy is because people are just afraid of needles and refuse to admit it, and so they're like, I don't trust vaccines. I think the same thing happens with voting and being afraid of not knowing exactly how it works, and so then people are like, voting isn't worth my time. Or they say something like, if voting worked, they wouldn't let you do it, which is mind-boggling. The amount of intentional ignorance behind that statement is wild. Managing, coercing, and convincing people to vote is a multi-billion-dollar industry. To say that, like, your vote is meaningless and that people shouldn't vote because it doesn't do anything, it takes a specific level of not paying attention. Now, I've said in the past that I identify most closely as an anarchist, so it's kind of whack that I would be saying you should vote, but also, it's just not that big of a deal. And so when I say, like, you should vote, it's like, you should vote because it's the minimum viable form of civic engagement. It is the least that you can do to participate. And it's super, super easy in most places if you look like me. If you generally don't have to worry about the fuckery going on in your local specific voting place, it's relatively fast. So let me demystify voting real quick, because if anybody here is watching and you've not voted before and you're nervous to vote or whatever, let's fix that. If you've never even registered, head to vote.gov and just follow the instructions on the website. It's not too late in a lot of places to still register. That website has just a ton of information that you can just go to that website instead of watching my face. But watch my face. I need money. So you register, right? You're registered to vote. You're told to go to a location, and you can go there early on early voting day or on voting day itself. I would just pick whenever is convenient. You go to your polling place, you walk up to a counter, you give them your information, they're gonna find your registration stuff, they're gonna hand you essentially a Scantron. At least in my locality, they hand you a Scantron, you fill it out. In some places, they just say go to that booth and poke buttons on a screen until it tells you you're done. Anyway, you go in, you get your Scantron, or they tell you to go to a computer and poke stuff. If you've got a Scantron or a computer that prints out a Scantron, you're then gonna bring it over to a little machine, put it in the slot, it reads and counts your vote, you get a little sticker, and you head out. That's it, you're done. And that's only if you vote in person. My voting experience was by mail. I was able to sit at my table and research candidates as I was voting. The hardest part of voting was that I was also eating leftover Indian food at the same time and nearly spilled curry on my ballot, which I think invalidates them. I'm not sure. Now, the actual hard part about voting is knowing who to vote for. And you probably already know who or who not you're going to vote for president. But there's so much more that's down ballot. When people say down ballot, they're talking about all the stuff that's on the ballot that's not president, all the lower voting stuff. Even the people who say don't vote, oh, well, vote down ballot, they catch themselves. And it's why saying don't vote is so dangerous. The down ballot stuff is where the votes truly do matter. Now, of course, they matter for the president as well, but I've said this before, the best possible presidential candidate with the best intentions and the best alignment will get virtually nothing done. But the worst president can destroy the country. And not in the hopeful, oh, I think America should be destroyed, so we should destroy the country way. In a, you and everyone that you've ever loved is going to starve to death kind of way. In a, you now have to be careful about who you tell what about you kind of way. Trust me, if voting is too much for you, a violent uprising is probably going to be too much for you. So down ballot, there's going to be stuff like your senator, your congressman, but there's also going to be judges and initiatives and constitutional amendments. For example, in my locality, abortion, a constitutional amendment for abortion was on the ballot. Now, it shouldn't have to be there, but it's there in part because Donald Trump won in 2016 and was able to install 3 Supreme Court justices because people didn't like Hillary. Now, don't get me wrong, I didn't like Hillary too, but people really didn't like Hillary. And then we got Donald Trump. The voting is a little important, just a smidge. Now, of course, it is on the candidates to do the campaigning, to earn your vote. I'm not talking about whether or not they've earned your vote. I'm saying the actual action of going to the booth and filling out your preferences is not a big deal. And that's what they are. They are your preferences within the confines of the system that exists, not a statement of your entire morality. I want to make this extraordinarily clear. Voting for a candidate does not mean you endorse every single position they have, or even most of them. Voting for a candidate for president, specifically. There will be exactly one outcome for president, Donald Trump or Kamala Harris. Mathematically, that is how it works. So your options are lean towards one or the other, or abstain out of moral objection, Now, you can vote for neither candidate, but just like be aware that choosing to not vote just means that you're okay with whatever outcome. At some level, you would prefer either outcome over one that you want to weigh in on. At this point, the conversation has shifted from requiring them to earn your vote. Like, they've already shifted and modified their campaigns during the cycle, and now they're solidified. So the only thing your vote does now is tally towards one side or the other. There is no more convincing them to earn your vote. That time has come and gone, and that's an important period. And now it's just a matter of picking one or the other. And if you truly can't pick, that's on you. That's up to you at this point. You can vote third party if you really want to, or you can abstain from the presidential vote. That doesn't do anything. Like, I don't know how to explain that doesn't do anything. Something that dawned on me as I've been seeing a whole lot of discussion around people saying that they want to vote for third party, or they're gonna punish the Democrats by not voting for them. I realized that there's a common theme among a lot of these people, which is that this is their first election. And like, I get it. I'm not trying to diminish people who are young voters. It's not a matter of not being aware of issues. It's a matter of the experiencing multiple elections and seeing these things play out. We've lived through this exact moment multiple times. We've seen the same players. Fucking Jill Stein. I've seen her attempt to swindle people into a vote. Election after election after election. It's not like you just discovered some unique third-party candidate. And third parties don't have a chance in America trying to go after the presidency first. Like, they just don't. That's nothing. That's why even Bernie switched from independent to Democrat before he ran for president. Like, that is why. It is a logistics issue. Do I agree with the logistics issue? Of course not. But it's the world we live in, and we have to acknowledge that before we can try to make any improvements to it. Sitting around and wishing that everyone would just, or saying that you're not going to participate until, that's just throwing your hands up in the air and giving up. Because if you don't follow that up with, and to make those things happen, I'm going to blah, then you're just refusing to participate with no solutions, which is fine. You don't owe anyone solutions. I want to be clear about that. It's not your job to fix the world. It's just not. However, I would like to think that it is a reasonable way to live your life, to want to optimize for the goodness and happiness of those around you and those that you love. And one way to do that is to help make sure that a future is less dangerous for those around you. Is it going to be less dangerous for those around the world? No. America exists and it still does America things. But the total number of people who are in danger is a variable. The more that we can make that go in the right direction, the better. Because I do not subscribe to the notion of we must suffer because others also suffer. How about we do okay and then try to use the fact that we're doing okay to change things? Unfortunately, we have to first be okay. And we're kind of not, though. Cool, go vote for whoever. Bye-bye.